I found a dying Doberman at the dump. What happened next changed my life forever. I heard the first whimper while shoveling trash on the edge of Edgewood County. A gasp, broken,
Whimpering.
strangled like someone being choked in silence. I froze, the shovel slipping from my hand. No one was there, just wind, the smell of burnt smoke, and a faint sound begging to be saved. I ran. Through wet garbage leaking oil and rusted metal, the sound came again.
It's okay, girl.
Small, trembling,
You're
the
safe
last
now.
breath of something fading.
I won't hurt
I
you.
lifted a torn tarp and saw her. A female Doberman lay on her side, body thin as bone. Belly swollen, mouth agape, eyes rolled white. Her fur was soaked, matted with mud and shards of plastic. 3 tiny puppies clung to her, shivering, trying to nurse from a body already cold. No barking. Only that rasping breath like a blade scraping her throat. I dropped to my knees and pressed my hand against her chest. One beat, then nothing. Then another, thin as a thread. No wound, no blood. Just a body sinking into the trash. I screamed, "No, come on, girl. Don't you die here." I tore off my jacket and wrapped it around her. Her body was iron cold, light as ash. The 3 pups crawled closer, legs like toothpicks, mouths cracked and dry, clinging to the fabric. I lifted them, all the stench of rot and fuel stabbing my nose as the wind slammed into my face. When I carried her up, her head fell limp to the side, eyes still open. I thought she was gone. But then a faint whimper escaped, fragile and broken like the last breath of someone too tired to fight. I clenched my jaw and ran for the truck. My boots slid in the mud chest tight. The truck's red light flashed across her fur, flickering on eyes that were almost gone. I laid her in a cardboard box. The 3 pups pressed against her, crying weakly. The key turned. The old engine groaned, then roared. I slammed the gas. Dirty water shot into the air. Her breaths were shallow, stomach heaving. In the rearview mirror, those cloudy brown eyes stared back at me, asking, "Why did you stop?" I whispered through my breath, "Because I can't watch anyone die again." The wind screamed through the window cracks. The dirt road is slick with frost. I didn't look at the clock, didn't count the seconds. Every breath she took was a bomb ticking down. Another sound came from the back, the smallest pup, barely the size of my palm, crawling up her mother's chest. Tiny claws scraped the cardboard softly. I glanced back, 3 fragile lives, drenched, trembling, clinging to a body almost gone. My hands began to shake. I slammed the wheel, shouted, "Don't you die, do you hear me? I won't let anyone die in silence again." The words ricocheted off the windshield back into my chest, like a vow whispered to the dark. Headlights cut through the fog light, bleeding over the wet road. I honked the horn, not for anyone to hear, but because silence felt deadly. One more second of quiet, and she'd be gone. "Hang in there, girl." Just 10 more minutes. I murmured like a prayer. I'd never prayed before, never believed in God, never believed in miracles. But that morning in a truck that smelled of mud and blood, I believed. Because if I didn't, nothing would keep her alive. Behind me, the whimpers came again. 3, 4 gasps uneven. The rustle of fur, the crackle of breath. A fragile symphony of life clawing its way out of death. I listened and knew that if I stopped, they'd all be gone. I pushed harder, eyes locked on the fog-covered road. Pine Ridge Clinic, 9 miles out. I didn't think. I just drove. Every turn of the wheel was a prayer. "Don't go, Ruby. Stay with me. I swear I'll keep you safe." The wind carried the stench of fuel and burnt trash, but inside the truck I heard something else. Not the engine, not the storm. A breath weak, hoarse, but alive. I swallowed hard, gripping the wheel. Ahead, the neon lights of Pine Ridge blurred in the mist, glowing like the last spark of night. I whispered, barely audible, "Just a little longer, girl. Just a little longer." The truck skidded through the curve water, splashing high. Behind me, the 3 pups whimpered softly, still pressed against their mother. I caught one last glimpse in the mirror. 4 fragile souls inside a cardboard box bathed in red light. And in that moment I knew if she lived, I would too. I slammed the brakes in front of Pine Ridge Animal Clinic. Neon light spilled over the snow, sharp and cold as a blade. I jumped out of the truck, cradling the Doberman in my arms, her body, weightless, trembling breath torn into fragments. The door burst open. A nurse looked up, startled. Before she could speak, I shouted, "She can't breathe!" She hit the emergency button instantly. Dr. Hannah Brooks rushed out from the ER, her lab coat stained with disinfectant. Her eyes swept over the dog from head to belly in one practiced glance. How long has it been? I don't know. Found her in the north dump, hit by a car. Numb. No wounds, just dying. Hannah lay her on the steel table, stethoscope pressed to her chest. The room froze. Only the faint monitor remained. Beep, beep, beep. I held my breath. "She's weak," Hannah whispered. "Heart irregular. Could be poisoning or organ failure." Then she turned to me. "If you want to save her, we have to move now." I nodded. No words. Just watch the body twitch in tiny, uneven jolts. Her chest rose and fell, eyes half open, neck quivering like she was swallowing air that wouldn't come. And in that sterile silence, the sound pulled me backward. To another white room, another monitor, another breath slipping away. 4 years ago, I stood by Laura's bed. Same sterile beeping, same metallic clicks, only that time I lost. I remember her hand cooling inside mine, her final whisper, "Don't let anyone die alone, Ethan." And now I was hearing it again, only this time from a Doberman. Hannah injected fluids, voice steady. "I'm flushing her system. She's fragile. Survival odds 50-50. I swallowed. 50's still better than none. She met my eyes, confirming one last time. "You understand she might not make it." I nodded. "Do it. Don't stop." She handed me a consent form. My hands shook so hard the signature warped ink bleeding into the paper. Didn't matter. The 3 pups were still in the cardboard box, curled together. I bent down. They were barely breathing, eyes shut, bodies twitching with tiny shivers. One lifted its head and whimpered, asking for a mother who might never answer. I had no words. The operating room door shut. Sounds spilled through water, running metal trays, clattering the hiss of a ventilator. I sat back, pressed against the cold wall. Nothing left to do but wait. Time inside Pine Ridge crawled like frozen sap. Each minute cut like a blade. Outside, the wind tore through the pines. Inside, the monitor echoed faintly, beep, beep, weaker each time. I looked at my hands, still caked with mud and dried blood trembling. I thought of Laura. These same hands had pressed against her chest when her heart gave out. I remembered too clearly I didn't say goodbye, didn't fight hard enough, didn't save a single beat. I bowed my head and whispered, "Not again, I swear." A nurse approached, handing me a blanket. "Keep the babies warm for now." I nodded, wrapping them in my jacket. They shivered, then settled, pressed to my chest. Their warmth was fragile but real. For the first time in years, I felt life against my palms. Inside, the water stopped. A clang of metal, then silence. I held my breath. 1, 2, then beep, one faint pulse, weak, but there. Through the frosted glass, I saw movement, Hannah's shadow still working. I closed my eyes. Didn't pray. I've never believed in miracles. But this time I whispered like a child. If someone's up there, just give her one more chance. My voice cracked low and rough. The pups stirred. One let out a tiny cry, soft as wind, but enough to break me open. I pulled them closer, tears falling onto my sleeve. Inside, the monitor steadied. Slow, rhythmic, beep, beep, beep. I opened my eyes, my heartbeat aligned with the sound. For the first time in 4 years, I wasn't afraid of that tone anymore. Because this time it wasn't announcing death, it was announcing life. I looked toward the bright white light spilling into the hallway, and in that moment I knew my promise had finally found its meaning. The tires screamed as I hit the brakes in front of Pine Ridge Animal Clinic, neon lights slicing through the thin morning fog. I carried the Doberman in my arms, her body weightless, her breath torn to shreds. The door burst open. "Help her!" I yelled, voice cracking. A nurse rushed forward, slamming the emergency button. Dr. Hannah Brooks appeared, lab coat stained with disinfectant, eyes sharp yet steady. How long has she been like this? I don't know. I pulled her out of the northern dump. Car accident, number just dying. She laid the dog on the steel table, pressed the stethoscope to her chest. Beep, beep, beep. A heartbeat, faint as wind. Heart's weak lungs unstable, she said. Possible poisoning or organ failure. Then her eyes locked on mine. If we're going to save her, we move now. I nodded, couldn't speak. The white light cut across the room, sterile, merciless, the same shade I once hated. 4 years ago, under that same color, Laura lay in a hospital bed while her monitor faded to silence. I couldn't save her. Her last words still burned inside me. "Don't let anyone die alone, Ethan." Tonight, those words came back. Hannah inserted the IV, injected fluids. I'm flushing her system. Odds of survival 50-50. 50-50's still a chance. You understand? She might not make it. Do it anyway. I signed the paper, my hand shaking, ink smearing across the form. Didn't read a word, didn't care. The 3 pups were still in the box. I lifted the lid, 3 tiny bodies trembling, eyes shut tight. Breaths uneven. One whimpered so soft it barely existed. The sound broke something in me. The operating room door closed. Metal clanged. Water splashed, the ventilator hissed. I sank into the chair back, pressed to the cold wall. Outside, the wind howled through the pines. Inside, only beep, beep, fading. I looked at my hands still streaked with mud and dried blood. These same hands had once pressed against Laura's chest. I remembered the chill, the stillness after the last beep. "Not this time," I whispered. A nurse handed me a blanket. "Keep the little ones warm." I nodded, wrapping them inside my jacket. Their warmth seeped into my chest, fragile, flickering. 3 tiny hearts tapping against my ribs, knocking on the door of the past. For the first time in years, I felt life again. Inside, the noise stopped. A metal tray fell. Silence. 1 beat, then beep. Weak, but real, I looked up. Through the frosted glass, Hannah's silhouette kept moving. I've never prayed, never believed in anything above. But now I whispered, "If someone's up there, just give her one more chance." My voice rasped. The pups stirred, one letting out a small cry so faint it tore the air open. My eyes burned. Tears spilled onto my sleeve. Then the monitor sounded again. Steady now, rhythmic, beep, beep, beep. I exhaled. My heartbeat fell into sync. For the first time in 4 years, that sound wasn't death. It was life. The hallway light stretched across the floor, long and quiet. I looked up, breath trembling, and felt the weight inside me ease. Maybe that old promise finally meant something. And maybe tonight another heart had been kept alive. Morning light crept through the windows of Pine Ridge Clinic. I was still in the same chair, slumped against the cold metal back to the wall, eyes burning from a sleepless night. The operating room door opened slightly. Hannah stepped out, lab coat, wrinkled hair, tangled eyes red. She pulled off her mask and exhaled. She's still with us. I couldn't breathe. Just those words and my heart nearly tore free from my chest. Can I see her? Hannah nodded. Be gentle. She's fragile. I walked into the room. The air was dry, the smell of alcohol and antiseptic heavy. Ruby lay on the steel table body wrapped in gauze and tubes. Her chest rose and fell, slow but steady. Eyes closed, her matted mouth parted slightly around a thin oxygen line. Beside her, the monitor glowed soft green. Beep. Beep, beep. Steady alive. For the first time, that sound was beautiful. I moved closer. My hand trembled as I touched her head. You did good, girl, I whispered. Ruby's eyelids fluttered. Not a spasm, real movement. Hannah smiled faintly. I think she hears you. I swallowed hard. Ruby, I murmured, if you make it through this, I promise you'll never be alone again. The name slipped out naturally, Ruby, as if it had been waiting inside me all along. The light caught her wet, black and tan fur, revealing a copper-red gleam on her chest, like a gem hidden under dirt. I knew that name was right. The 3 pups were in a heated box beside her, curled together, stirring every so often. One whimpered softly, calling for her mother. Ruby's body shifted, eyelids twitching, breath changing rhythm. The room froze. Then, slowly, her head turned toward the sound. She heard them. Hannah whispered. I could hardly believe it. Ruby tried to lift her head, neck shaking. I supported her gently as the blanket slid off her shoulders. A deep, rasping exhale escaped her lungs, raw, broken alive. She was back. Hannah checked the IV, smiled. You didn't give up, did you? I gave up once, I said quietly. I won't do it again. She nodded, eyes shining, then turned away. Ruby lay still, breathing steadily. I placed my hand on her chest. Her heartbeat stronger now, solid under my palm. I could feel it, hear it, believe it. Everything else, the empty years, the sleepless nights, the ghosts, suddenly felt smaller. Hannah paused at the door. If you hadn't brought her when you did, she said softly, there'd be 4 cold bodies this morning. I said nothing, because the truth was I was being saved too. The early light spilled across the silver table, filling the room with warmth. Ruby whimpered. I sat beside her, touched her head. It's okay, girl. We're still here. Her mouth parted, head lifting just slightly, and for one fleeting second, I heard it. A faint sigh, half whine, half breath, but alive. I laughed through tears. That sound, small, fragile, was enough to make my heart tremble. Ruby's eyes opened, cloudy and wet, but focused on me. Just for a moment, her gaze cut through everything I'd ever lost. Outside, snow still fell, wind still howled, but inside that white room, warmth bloomed again. Not from the heater, from the rhythm of 2 heartbeats learning to trust the world once more. Hannah returned quietly. We'll keep her under observation all day, she said. You should rest. I shook my head. I'll stay. If she opens her eyes again, I want to be the first thing she sees. Hannah smiled, leaving the door slightly ajar. The room fell still, just me, Ruby, and the soft pulse of the monitor counting life. I sat there, watching her sleep, the morning light brushing her fur, her breath blending with the cold air. For the first time in so long, something stirred inside me. Not pain, but life itself. And in that silence I whispered, just loud enough for me to hear. Welcome back, Ruby. Saturday night. The wind from the northern pines screamed across the cabin roof. I sat by the fireplace, listening to the wood crackle, the flames glow flickering over Ruby's fur. She slept soundly, her 3 pups curled in a wool blanket beside her. It was so peaceful, I almost believed the worst was behind us. But peace never lasts long. Around midnight, a sound broke through the quiet. Not the wind, not the fire. Breathing, ragged, gasping, broken. I turned. Ruby was no longer still. Her body, convulsed neck, arched mouth-wide breath, wheezing and shallow. Her eyes were wide with panic. I rushed over. Breathe, girl. Easy. Nothing. Foam gathered at her lips, chest heaving violently. Her body was burning hot skin trembling under my hands. Her heartbeat raced so fast I couldn't count it. The 3 pups scurried in circles, crying, pawing at her legs. Ruby tried to lift her head, but it fell limp. No, not now. I shouted, my voice cracking. I grabbed the phone, no signal. Outside, snow hammered down. The road to town had been buried since dusk. It was just me, her, and 3 tiny lives. Hannah's words echoed in my head. If anything happens, keep her warm. Clear her airway, don't let her panic. I tore the blanket free, wrapped it tight around her. Her chest spasmed, breath shallow and jagged. Her eyes glazed, light fading from them. Ruby. Look at me. Look at me, girl, I'm here, I shouted. Her eyes flicked open for a heartbeat, just a spark before the dark. I pressed my hand to her chest, pumping hard, counting. 1, 2, 3, no response. Harder. Don't you quit on me. You didn't come this far to die tonight. Thunder rumbled in the distance. The wind slammed against the glass. In the dim firelight, I saw a single drop fall from her nose to the floor. I didn't know if it was sweat or a tear. I kept pressing hands, shaking. Each push felt like I was forcing my own heart to beat. 1, 2, 3, then stillness. The cabin went silent. No breathing. No wind. Only the faint crackle of fire. My body froze, my heartbeat collapsing into hers. Then I screamed a raw, broken sound that tore through the quiet. Please don't go, I need you. They need you. I don't know how long I knelt there. 10 seconds. Maybe forever. Then a wheeze. Weak, uneven, but real. Her chest rose slightly. Then a cough. Then another breath. I gasped, half laughing, half crying. That's it, girl. That's it. Just breathe. I stroked her head, my voice shaking. We made it. You hear me? Nobody's leaving tonight. Her breathing slowed, deep, steady, stronger. She whimpered softly, then turned her head toward her pups. Her nose brushed against them, just a small touch, but stronger than any word I could say. I sank to the floor, holding her head in my lap. My whole body trembled, not from cold, but from relief. The cabin glowed red in the firelight, her face calm again. Her breath fell back into rhythm, mingling with the storm outside. I exhaled, whispering, "You scared the hell out of me, Ruby." She stirred, opened her eyes, and looked at me. Those eyes, deep, warm, alive. No longer the desperate gaze from that first night. They were the eyes of a survivor, of a soul who believed in miracles. I placed my hand over my heart. It was beating in sync with hers, then looked toward the window, snow still falling, but the sky was breaking open with a faint light over the ridge. A new day was coming. I looked back at Ruby and smiled. "We've still got a lot of living to do, don't we, girl?" She didn't answer. Just a slow breath, a small wag of her tail, her head still resting on my leg. And in the fading firelight of that long night, I understood. She wasn't the only one who had been saved. So was I. That spring came early. The snow on the hill melted slowly, revealing soft green grass around the old cabin. The stream behind the house ran again, whispering like a laugh I hadn't heard in years. Ruby lay on the porch, eyes half closed in the sunlight, her 3 pups tumbling around her glossy coats, strong legs alive. Every morning when I opened the door, all four came rushing out, tails wagging, tiny paws thudding on the wood floor like a drum calling the day awake. I still couldn't believe that the broken girl I'd pulled from a pile of trash could now run, bark, and look at me with such pure gratitude. Edgewood was quiet this season. The wind from the lake carried the scent of damp soil and wildflowers. People were used to seeing me walk down Main Street with Ruby at my side, her three shadows trotting behind like little soldiers. They waved, smiled, sometimes stopped to ask, "You raise all of them yourself?" I'd grin and say, "Not exactly. They're the ones raising me." By afternoon, I went back to my old job cleaning the streets at the edge of town. Same work, different life. Ruby always lay in the back of the truck, eyes tracking my every move, tail swaying like a metronome. Each time I bent to pick up a bottle, she barked softly as if to say, "Careful, old man." A passerby once asked, "Why bring your dog to work?" And I said, because she taught me that even the dirtiest things can be made clean if someone's willing to start. The boy nodded, eyes shining the kind of light I thought I'd lost forever. Evenings were warm now, filled with the sound of breathing. The fireplace glowed red, the flame reflecting off wooden walls, and the old framed photo of Laura, my wife, gone 4 years. I looked at her picture, then at Ruby resting beside me, head on my leg, the pups sleeping close around us. In that moment I knew the silence that once haunted this place was gone. In its place, breath, heartbeat, life. One night, as spring rain tapped softly on the tin roof, I opened Laura's old notebook, the one where she'd written a list of small kindnesses. I added the final line, March 26th. A Doberman mother and her 3 pups taught me that miracles aren't about how many lives we save, but about believing that even one is worth saving. Ruby stirred, pressed her head into my hand, eyes closing again. That simple gesture told me she understood. She had lived, and somehow she'd brought me back to life with her. That night I heard a soft hum from her chest, the kind of sound only a creature that truly trusts will make. I stroked her back, feeling the slow, warm rhythm of her breath. Outside, wind swept through the pines, rain fading into mist. Inside, 4 small lives curled together, their breathing blending into a single, quiet song. I whispered, voice breaking in the warmth of the fire. "Laura, you see this, don't you? The world still has something to believe in. Maybe God doesn't send angels with wings. Maybe He sends them with muddy paws and eyes that beg for another chance." I looked out the window. Across the hill, the first morning light of spring spread gold over Ruby's black coat. She lifted her head, looked at me, and barked once clear, full, strong. The pups jumped up, circling her tails, wagging wildly. A laugh burst out of me, raw and honest as the spring breeze. I realized then some lives are born again, not in a hospital, but in the small moment when someone decides not to walk away. When they stop, hear a cry in the dark, and choose to act instead of turning aside. That's what Ruby taught me. That kindness doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to arrive in time. Every time I see her lying on the porch, sunlight warming her closed eyes, I see Laura's smile in her reflection. Maybe somehow the 2 of them have met one on the other side. One still here, both reminding me that every soul deserves a second chance. As dusk fell, I added a few more words to Laura's notebook. We are all a little broken, but if someone stops, reaches out, and says, "I see you," the world begins to beat again. I set the pen down and looked up. Ruby was watching me, eyes glimmering in the firelight, her pups scattered around like tiny pieces of a miracle. I smiled, touched her head, and whispered, "Thank you, Ruby, for coming back, and for teaching me how to believe again." The fire crackled softly, painting gold across the walls marked by time. Outside, the Edgewood sky turned violet, ushering in another night no longer cold, only the warmth of 4 steady heartbeats breathing alive together. I closed my eyes, and in that darkness I heard something simple, something true, that life sometimes begins again, with just one breath and one hand that decides to stay. When I found Ruby that night, I thought I was saving her, but the truth is, she was saving me. From the silence. From the years I stopped believing that anything broken could ever be whole again. Now, every morning in Edgewood, when I hear her paws tapping against the porch, I remember, a second chance doesn't always come with angels or miracles. Sometimes it comes in the shape of a trembling heartbeat covered in mud, just waiting for someone to stop. If this story touched you even for a moment, please share it, leave a or in the comments, and subscribe to join our Call of Hope Rescue. Because every view, every share, every word of kindness helps another lost soul find its way home. No one should die in silence. Not while compassion still exists. Not while hope still breathes. And not while we're still here choosing kindness one heartbeat at a time.